Welcome to the DIA Global Annual Meeting Virtual Edition PharmaVoice Editors Take video series. In this episode, Taryn Grome, editor of PharmaVoice, meets with Michael O'Gorman, CEO and founder, Life Science Marketplace.
Michael, welcome to the Editors Take video program.
Thank you, Taryn. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to the doctors, nurses, EMTs, and other workers on the front line to make sure that everyone stays healthy. And, they're doing such an incredible job of saving lives. So all of us out here appreciate you.
That's a great sentiment. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that you have a lot of contacts throughout the life sciences industry, both from the sponsor side as well as on the service side. I'd like to know from you, what are some of the trends you're seeing in terms of the COVID crisis as everyone's trying to manage through this pandemic?
As far as the industry goes, I've heard a great deal of shift in focus whereby the clinical directors and VPs are having to first get everyone situated in remote workforce. Secondly, they're trying to ensure that the supply chain is still operating properly. There has been a very big consideration relative to new patients enrolling, as we're seeing a pretty hefty drop off in the enrollment relative to existing clinical studies. And I believe overall the focus is on working the current clinical studies and really a lack of focus now on what's ahead in the future. That's not to say that people are not concerned about what's in the future, but they are really focusing on the things at hand today. From the vendor side of things, I think there is a very big concern that whereby pipelines look pretty good right now, that there will be an overall decline in the clinical study pipeline, especially where the pipelines for business development professionals might start drying up here.
And we know how long it takes to get those pipelines up and running. So if there's a slight delay in terms of moving those patients along the chain, what do you think some of those ramifications will be?
Oh boy. So anybody that's been involved in clinical studies know that the startup time is always quite a bit more than what people expect. So I think what the major concern here is that the focus, if it shifts towards the current studies and current workload that's going on right now, shifts too far away from the planned clinical studies, that we're talking another 6 months to 9 months before things start ramping up again on the new clinical studies that might be starting up. And from a business development standpoint, that is a very painful 6 to 9 months because they're depending upon commissions and workflow to get things going here.
Absolutely. At the same time, I'm also hearing that because of the focus on the immediacy, that companies, both on the vendor and on the supply side, are really looking to jumpstart through technology, and that the future is now here rather than in 12 to 15 months with some pilot programs, that they're really
Yes.
looking to take that technology to the next level, and maybe we won't be looking at hybrid trials in terms of virtual in the longer term. It'll be here in the shorter term. Are you hearing that as well?
Yes, without a doubt. Companies that are conducting virtual trials and also doing virtual site monitoring are actually benefiting a great deal from this crisis. There's been quite a bit of emphasis to find the right vendors that provide those types of services for the companies right now that are right in the midst of their studies and can't really get to their sites personally.
So you're right there in the middle of that that connection there with your new product that you have out in terms of the marketplace. Talk to me about how you're working through this with some of your clients.
Well, we've been impacted just like everyone else. And I think what's happening here is that there is a shift not only of activities that are happening on the marketplace, but in real life here. So within our marketplace, what we're trying to do is educate people to utilize the marketplace in the best way that they possibly can at this point. And so I personally think that utilizing the marketplace for planning at this stage really is very important. And there's a couple of ways that folks can do that out there right now. The first way is to utilize our marketplace for vetting out vendors that they might want to be doing business with in the future. And we've got some great vendors on there, some of the largest CROs, some great clinical vendors, as well as non-clinical vendors that are utilizing our platform right now. And then as far as gearing up for clinical studies, similar to what I said about the clinical study itself, the startup process is a lot longer than what people realize. And the more advanced planning you can do right now to create projects within our platform and get them ready for requests for proposals and that sort of thing, the better off I think everyone will be.
That's fantastic. So, are you finding quite a lot of interest in trying to connect the right vendor with the right supplier, with the right manufacturer, with whoever else is involved in the process?
Yes, that is something that our sponsors are really interested in doing within our marketplace. But because we're a reasonably new marketplace, our ecosystem really has to start multiplying for that to be, incredibly valuable for those folks that are really new to the marketplace. I think what value we provide at the moment is, number one, we don't charge sponsors anything to utilize our marketplace, so it's really zero barrier to entry here for them. We don't also charge the vendors to exist on the market and display their companies here. We actually only charge a small percentage on the award of a contract, and that's capped as well. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get everybody to utilize this marketplace in this time, even though folks might not be awarding contracts. They can still do a lot of investigation about vendors, find out what their capabilities are and whether they're a good fit for a company. In addition, like I said, to build out projects, this is the right time to start doing that advanced planning.
Excellent. So let's not wait till we all get back online before you start the planning process. That's great advice. Finally, Michael, DIA has always been a great conference to see sponsors and vendors and really take a pulse on what's happening in the industry. Given the fact that we are going to be virtual this year, what advice do you have to your fellow DIA participants?
Well, it's interesting because DIA has always promoted innovation in healthcare and, is really patient centric. I think this is the right decision that DIA has made well in advance of the conference. We can't risk having people get back together and start spreading this disease all over again. So I applaud DIA for what they've done. On the vendor side, I feel terrible for most of the vendors because as most of those vendors understand that it takes about a year to really plan your strategy for DIA ahead of time. And that includes getting your booth together, having designs for your booth if you've got new and improved designs, setting up meetings with people, organizing events. There's just so many things that go on at DIA live setting that just make it so great for everybody to get together. Even from a sponsor's point of view, I personally think that there's nothing like actually being able to sit in an audience and really take copious notes on speakers that are up there with really great mind share. And when you have a question and you think it's right to ask that question, you just raise your hand and you get that question answered. So I think that's really what's going to be missed most about DIA. In addition to the fact that we've all created such tremendous friendships at DIA over the years, and of course we all want to see everyone. But the most important thing at this point is for everybody to stay safe and stay healthy and stay home.
I couldn't agree with you more. Michael, thank you so much for being part of our Editors Take video program and sharing your insights at this very important time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Taryn.
For more information about Life Science Marketplace, visit www.lsmarket.com.